Hi, everybody. Welcome to your Nexus report for 7th of December 2017. We have a special report for you today featuring one of my very favorite people in the world who I haven't known really very long. Met back, I want to say back in February or so in the gun show in Atlanta working with the NRA. Antonia Okafor is with us. Antonia, it's so good to see you again. I know you've got to be going pretty quick here, so we'll just try to cut right to the chase. You had a speaking event in Hampshire University about empowering women and the Second Amendment, and 2 hours before your speech, they canceled it on you, didn't they?
They did, yeah. Hampshire, I want to say Hampshire College. I was set to speak. Everything was set, and I was literally about to go out of my hotel room. And when I got a text from one of the students that put this all together, telling me that the dean had contacted him and it's canceled 2 hours before my speech. So it's been a whirlwind since then. It's now national news, which is crazy to me too. But I think it's funny here. They wanted to cancel my platform to speak and talk to these students, and now I have an even wider and bigger platform to talk to the nation. So it's
Well,
interesting.
well, first of all, couldn't think of somebody better. And, I was taking a look at Hampshire University. It's an extremely liberal college. They've had this kind of thing happen before. As a matter of fact, I think Hampshire is the home of Jigglypuff. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
yeah,
strictly, but yeah.
something. If there's ever anybody who earned a kind of a name like that, that would be the person. Here's what I find interesting about Hampshire. They talk an awful lot about empowerment and inclusively and design your own education class, and we're not going to be teachers. I think a term they used for one of these things was concentrators, because you don't want to teach anybody when you go to university. That'd be so.
Well, they don't even have grades,
No,
so
no, of course not. No grades
that's
and no grades and no teachers.
that's
So
too offensive.
here's what I noticed about this place, Antonia, just to make you feel a little better. It seemed to me, looking at their course curriculum, it seemed like about a quarter, maybe a fifth, of all of the majors that they offer at Hampshire University are something studies. And I've come to realize that if you have to put studies after something, that is an absolute indication that this is not about anything at all. In other words,
Yeah.
you can go to a real school and study engineering, but if you go to Hampshire College or a place like that and you study engineering studies, then you're not studying engineering, you're studying engineers. And what do
Yeah.
you say about a school that makes such a big deal about, oh, this is where you come to learn new ideas and new opinions, and this is where you're going to challenge your preconceptions and so on, and all the diversity loving stuff that you hear from these cowards out there.
Well, I mean, it makes complete sense that they would have most of their studies as something studies, women's studies, gender studies, and the gamut of that. Because I mean, people are basically come to that school to be brainwashed, to be honest, and that's why they were so upset. It was faculty members that were calling the administrators. Actually, a lot of people don't miss that part in the articles. Is that the student that hosted me? He went after finding out that email. He went over to the administrative office to talk to them in person while they were clamoring at the time, and they were all, just had their head down, having, listening to phone calls and messages and wondering what they were going to do. And he talked to them, and they said, well, we've had faculty members calling us upset that you're speaking or that she's speaking on campus, and we have students and well, mostly faculty members, which for me as a campus carry activist, that makes complete sense because
Of
they're
course.
usually the ones who don't want their students to be able to protect themselves. I find that very ironic, but it's part of the whole larger picture of academia that's very leftist, very Marxist type of way of thinking, and Hampshire is the epitome of that. They don't want any students to have any different thought in their head, and that's why they don't want to hear a different opinion like mine and have that on campus. And this was intentional. Um, don't get that twisted. That's definitely for sure.
They use the same kind of BS excuse we always hear, that due to heightened security concerns and so on and so on and so on. But they had approved this event and
Yep.
had approved you, and apparently 2 hours before the event, enough people. Now, I did not know it was mostly faculty. That doesn't surprise me, but it does disgust me.
Well, it's mostly faculty calling, but
Yeah,
of course there were others. I'm sure there were media people who were also. So 24 hours beforehand, we thought maybe 19 people were going to be there. The Facebook group, there was no activity, there was no fuss. It was almost, now we know, looking retrospectively, that it was the calm before the storm, because soon as tomorrow hit in the morning, that's when he started getting these messages of how dare you bring her to campus. The administrator said, well, we thought when you said women empowerment, Second Amendment, we thought a different type of empowerment, not that empowerment.
yeah. Didn't they say, as you well, in the email from who it was, the dean or something, as you well know, the Second Amendment is extremely controversial.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is a quote, very controversial. That was the original email. And the problem is that then they had the apology, which is where they continue to make this basically more egregious, is that they blame the student of saying that they're the ones who didn't fill out the application in the right way, even though the student is a senior, is about to graduate in a couple weeks, and has hosted many other events on campus before. So he's very, very familiar with the whole process. And so they blame them in this quote unquote apology, and the student, and said that we're at fault. And that's what got picked up. That's what the Associated Press picked up. Washington Post wrote about. I mean, now it's going up nationally, and people are talking about it, and they're saying, oh, well, it was their fault. No, the president of Hampshire College called me at about 10 o'clock this morning, saying that he completely apologizes and that he is completely at fault, that it was the administrator's fault. And I told him, the first thing I told him is that you're going to have to change the apology and write another apology saying that you apologize to the student for making them feel like that they're ones to blame. It was completely Hampshire College's fault, and not only was it an administrative error or overlooking administratively, it was intentional, and I know that. But I'm hoping more people will see this article, and I've seen a lot of responses who are basically calling BS when it comes to this, that
Yeah.
they did this intentionally, and I'm not going to be able to speak again at Hampshire College, but at least I get to speak tonight at Mount Holyoke, which is not too far away from it.
Well, I know you got to run to your next speaking event, but before you go, let me just tell you the part of this that is most disturbing to me, and that is the shame that I feel as a graduate of Hampshire College myself.
Oh,
Yeah, just a year or two ago, I got my PhD in studies, and basically, what I became was an acknowledged expert in the field of studying people who study things. And so, as my PhD thesis in studies, I basically wrote about how feminist studies intersectionally with Asian studies produces the kind of thing that leads to white studies denying the existence of gay theory studies. It's an extremely complicated thing, and I don't really have time to explain all of it now because I don't know if anybody really smart enough to understand it. But you have, we talked when we were in Atlanta, and I had Media Matter said something about me that I found particularly repulsive and really kind of depressed me for about 3 or 4 days. It really made me sad and angry. And I'll just tell you what everybody else has told me, and I know we've talked about this before in our after-hour segments and stuff. This is a badge of honor for you. This is something that you should wear as a badge of honor. It means that you have been standing up for the forces of goodness and light and reason and safety and respect and all the stuff they talk about. You're the one who's empowering women. You're the one bringing a diverse viewpoint to all of this. So the fact that you scared these weenies at Hampshire College enough for them to cancel you, I would put that on your resume, and I'd put a gold star right next to it up at the top. As ashamed though I am of it, being my alma mater and all.
oh wow, I did not know that about you.
Yeah, there's much about me nobody knows.
Did you really graduate from Hampshire?
No, I actually I was looking at their curriculum, and it was queer studies, feminist studies, women's studies, peace studies, all of it, and that's what I realized, that putting studies after something means that it is of no use whatsoever.
You
At
can
all.
just read a book. You can read books on it.
No, exactly. You can get a degree in poetry, and that means you have to learn how to do poetry. But if you get a degree in poetry studies, that means that you have learned how to not write poetry, but read people who write poetry and write important, very important sounding theses with a colon after it in the middle of it. So it's got to be like, I'll just go all the way. Why not? Queer feminist poets of the Middle Ages, colon, how the patriarchy was invented by witchcraft accusations against sorcerers of color. Something like that. You get the general idea.
Yes, I know. And it's a really expensive school, too. It's not cheap.
Yeah, no. Costs a lot of money to make your kids stupider coming out than they were before they went in.
I can't only imagine. I mean, but then again, there's that one student, the one that I'm glad he was there and he was at least able to get me on campus. Another interesting too is that they have one of the highest percentages of international students too. They have a lot of international students, and he's an international student. He's actually from Pakistan. And when I told him, I said, when this first happened, I was like, have you ever dealt with this ever before? And I was just thinking America, right? Like, I mean, this is crazy. And he's like, oh yeah, of course, all the time in Pakistan. I was like, and I started laughing. I was like, that's exactly why it's crazy that it's happening here.
Yep. That's what they want. That's what they want. Yeah. They want freedom from thought. That's all that it's about. Yeah. Go knock them dead, kid. We're really proud of you. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks very much for being with us today.
Thank you. I'll
Take
see
care.
you later.
Bye-bye. Bye. You know, I think I talked about this on a Stratosphere Lounge show from a week ago or so, talking about colleges and the university experience. And basically, I'm at the point now where I'm not joking about this, serious as I can be. I'm at the point now where I just want to say, you know what, you can have it. You can have it. Not going to fight it. We're not going to come and try and get on campus. We're not going to put up with your shouting matches and your hysteria. This is my personal opinion. And this is not a surrender. I've come to realize that the university system in this country is so irrevocably corrupted by this that the answer is not to try to prevent it. I think the answer is to try to accelerate it. And what I mean by that is this. Used to be that if you had a degree from Harvard or Yale, that meant that this little piece of paper on your wall meant that you as an individual person had achieved extraordinarily high levels of academic excellence because it was very difficult to get into that school. It was more difficult to get out in terms of graduating. And the paper on the wall from Harvard said that you were a person of great seriousness and high quality and so on. And to every other degree down the line, all the way down to my major, which I didn't finish, by the way, college dropout here, theater major at the University of Florida, it meant that you went to school to learn something. But now we see more and more of this where students are going into college specifically to come out stupider than they were before, less exposed to new ideas, less willing to tolerate new ideas, absolutely completely unable to debate or make rational decisions weighing facts. That's in the next solar system for them. They can't write coherent sentences. They don't know what to do. Most of these people don't know how to do their laundry. They're absolute infants. And since the universities are also corrupted, I just say this process needs to be accelerated. The day of the ivy-covered walls representing something of consequence is over. The good news here is that because of the internet, you can get yourself a world-class education essentially for free in anything you want to. And I've often wondered how many degrees that I could pass the final exam for just based on the education I've given myself online. And I'm quite confident I could get 5 bachelor's degrees, maybe 1 or 2 masters, and probably a PhD in history, I think. That's my opinion on it, honestly. Comes a point where the well gets so fouled that it's just time to dig a new well. That's what they should say on Hampshire College. Say Hampshire College, a diploma mill that reinforces every single stupid idea that you ever had. That's what your paper says now. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks again for your membership, making this all possible at BillWhittle.com. Have a good day.